It's all about increasing profit at the end of the day. That's what everybody wants to do. That's why we're all in business, right? So, maybe you use Skimmer and Riptide, or you use Skimmer and Piranha, or you use Primate and Piranha. As you stack more and more of these products into your arsenal of tools, your productivity is going to be increased, and therefore your profitability is also going to be increased. And that's what I think is really cool about the tools of Modern Pool Professional, is these are tools that will help you scale your business.
This is episode 199 with Kevin of Skimmer, Matt and Dave of Riptide, Eric of Piranha, and Joe of Primate. Enjoy!
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Viafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us on the podcast again today. Many familiar faces on here. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing great.
Sweet. Well, every one of you has been on the podcast before. Our audience obviously loves you guys. We enjoy being around you guys sometimes. Just kidding.
Keyword there. Hopefully now.
Kevin kind of talked about this idea, several different times about the tools for modern pool professionals. That's why we've gathered you all here today. So can you kind of explain what that is, Kevin? Why the co-marketing idea?
Definitely. When I first got into the industry, my job was to learn a lot more about it. And so, the founder of the company, Ron Hash, had started it, and we had Jack Nelson and Pete Freeland. They became interested in the industry. They started researching. They asked me to take a look. I got involved, and it was interesting. I didn't really know much about the pool and spa industry, but once I started digging in, it became very apparent. It was an amazing, booming industry, and the people in it were really amazing. They're really hardworking, incredible people. But I had to decide whether I wanted to be involved with the company. So I hit the road and started visiting all the customers. And I started meeting these guys at trade shows, or I'd listen to them on podcasts, or we'd have phone calls with them. And what I realized is these were the brands that were really changing the industry. You would go out, and even talking to you, Tyler, we would talk about things out in the industry that were old school, or, that's just the way people do it. They've always done it that way. But when I met Dave and Matt at Riptide, right, or I met the Joes at Primate Pool Tools, and I would talk to Eric and Janelle, it was obvious, or if I listened to their podcast, or if I watched their YouTube videos, there was something different, something very different. And it wasn't just, we make our product a little bit better, or we make it a little bit different than everyone else. They actually innovated beyond what everyone else was doing. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool, because that's exactly what Skimmer did. And I thought, I've got to figure out a way to get us together and see, number one, do we have like-minded customers? Do we have customer overlap, right? Do we have similar customers? And as we started talking, that became clear we definitely did. What I always say is Piranha's the standard in the industry, right? That's the no-brainer. Everyone knows that Piranha nets are the best. And Riptide is becoming that same thing in pool vacuums, and Primate with carbon fiber poles. And with Skimmer, we are now starting to reach that as well, as far as the leading pool service software platform. And so we all got together and we started talking. Number one, we liked each other. Number two, we all had the same focus of innovation, constant innovation. And when something isn't right, get it fixed and move it forward, right? Don't just let it sit there, or keep delivering what you have, and we'll make the next version better. Let's keep it moving forward constantly. And I thought there's something here. And as I started talking to everyone in this group, they completely agreed immediately from the beginning. There's definitely something there. And we decided to get together, and we started talking about this and saying that whether you're using Skimmer, or whether you're using a Piranha net, or whether you're using a Primate carbon fiber pole, or whether you're using a Riptide pool vacuum, if you're just using one of those, you should be using several of the products in this group. And it's not just about getting a little bit better. It's about being a game changer to your business. So that's why we started the group. Is really spread that message.
It's very cool. I mean, through our several talks, I agree. And obviously we've been in connection with most of you for several years now for those same reasons, right? I mean, when we chose sponsors, or we chose different people to put on the podcast, that's the number one thing, is can we give value to the listeners, right? Every single one of you we have several of your products here in the studio. it brings a lot of value. And we saw that same thing. Everything is more modern. It's more game changer than it ever has before with each one of your brands. So I agree with you. What is it, do you think, for you guys? Anybody else want to touch on that?
I think Kevin really hit the nail on the head. When he approached me, I get approached by a lot of different companies out there, and I just said, "Hey, you're going to be in the area. Just stop in. Let's see how you are. Let me show me your software. Let me hear about your company." Because I don't want to associate, the Riptide brand. I feel like we're a customer service company as much as we are a pool vacuum company. Mm-hmm. And from seeing what Skimmer adds to the industry and how they treat their customers and the value they provide to their customers is similar in, a value that we want to provide to our customers that we do provide. Same with Primate, same with Piranha. We're all customer service companies. We're all trying to put out the best product. We all take pride in what we do. And we're not just in it, for a quick buck or something like that.
Right.
That's a real good point, because I don't know, I'm feeling the same way. And as far as like with the Piranha products, we put those out with the purpose of trying to make things the best we can. And so, if it lasts longer and it works better for everybody, well, that kind of defeats the quick buck angle, because now I have something that's going to be better for people, and they're going to not need as many of them. But if it means that it improves someone's life and that they like the tool and that we helped advance the industry, well, that's what we're shooting for. And I think I already know for a fact you guys are doing the same thing. We're trying to make the best stuff, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we all get along and enjoy each other's company, because we kind of have all that in common. We love the industry. We've been in it a while, like to be part of improving it to the best of our ability, and like to see others succeed in it.
Right, exactly. And I can just tag on to that. I mean, Piranha specifically, you guys, we kind of used you as a model when we were building Primate, because, coming out with your guys' net, I just remember it being a game changer at the time. My dad's been using you guys' products for 30 years, and I've been using them for a decade now. So when we were starting up, we just, you guys are local. You guys are just north of us. We're all from Southern California. So, and you guys are from maintenance. So we just thought, these guys came from maintenance. They just changed the industry forever. So, clearly we have a shot. So really, you guys came up a lot in the conversation. So I just wanted to mention that on the show, because I think it's important. But also just to tag on to what Kevin said about all of us coming together and just what he noticed, like the common values between everyone. It's cool just like getting to reflect on this now, because everything's like happening so fast all the time. And, every 6 months or so, we feel like a new company. And honestly, like the struggle is just being able to slow down and enjoy what's happening and like appreciate you guys. But all of us coming together like this, just been thinking about it. And, I'm really active on Instagram. And over the years, after a certain point, people just started tagging Riptide and I together. That wasn't planned by us. Our users kind of found each other, which is awesome. I mean, it says a lot that users are so proud of the tools that they, our tools specifically, and using them and letting people know, hey, this is what we use and they work great. This is awesome. So naturally, we kind of got closer over the years because of that. But, more and more, I just started to see those people, also used a Piranha net, and then Skimmer was starting to come up. And this is before I knew Kevin and knew who Skimmer was. And now I know them very well, and I know they have a quality product. But, what's the common denominator there? These guys are all highly motivated to have the best tools for the job, and they're more than happy to invest in those tools to get better results. But the whole reason I'm trying to get at is, we're branding this, and, Kevin is, thanks to him for kind of being the brainchild behind this and bringing us all together. And this is his idea, and happy to be a part of it. But honestly, looking back, it happened organically, and Kevin noticed that and really brought us to this point. So we're putting a stamp on it, but my point is it's not contrived. Like, it was a movement that was already happening in the industry. So.
And that's a very good point you make. So Kevin called us and I'm just an old worker guy. Ended up
Very
in
old.
design, ended up in design and developed the Riptide, and really, like you guys have all mentioned, focused on quality. When something wasn't right, we immediately addressed it. We immediately worked our butts off, spent whatever it took to get it fixed, and went down that road. The fact that the customers have noticed it and appreciated it is awesome. But when Kevin called us, I honestly thought Tools of the Modern Pool Professional sounds hokey, sounds like a tagline, sounds kind of goofy to me, just being an old worker guy. But I will say, since doing this, I have enjoyed it immensely. There's really nothing hokey about it. Customers are understanding it. They do get it much more than I would have. So it's really cool, and I do thank you, Kevin, for bringing us on board and reaching out to us and enhancing our life with this direction.
Yeah.
Well, I think Joe said it perfectly. It was already happening. It was obvious, right?
Yeah.
And it was just a matter. What we just decided was, as a group, and we'll continue. There's other brands out there that we need to consider adding to the group. As we discover those, and I'm starting to see those emerge, and that's what we're all. With Piranha started. Maybe they weren't thinking they were going to change the industry by making a better net. I listened to the Pool Chasers podcast on the Reshes with Piranha, and the thing that always strikes me is I was tired of trying to work with toys. That's what Eric said on that podcast. And I thought back to my old, little net that I used on my pool, and I was like, yeah, it was horrible. I thought, how could anyone use this type of net? And to try to do it professionally, it was ridiculous. So it not only, it's not just about trying to be more professional, it's trying to be more productive. And what we all know is when our products enable that, our customers are able to be more profitable. And that's why they're in business. And then the last thing is, all of you have heard, and we hear all the time at Skimmer, but I know all of you hear it the same as well, it was a game changer. It changed my life. It changed the way I thought about my business. And that's the exciting part. And I think that's what Dave's saying is it could have been really hokey, but it's not. People come up to me all the time in trade shows. They walk up to the booth. I visit them when I'm on the road, and they're like, "Oh, finally you got together with the Piranha and the Riptide and the Primate guys. That's just so obvious," and it is to them. And when people work with quality, and you see quality, you're like, that looks nice. And by the way, that's the other thing that I think separates all of us from other brands is it's not just the functionality of what we provide and the quality. It's the aesthetic as well. They're beautiful products, and they're simple to use, and they last a long time, as Eric was saying. And people notice that, and they notice that very quickly. And professionals love to use tools that are high quality, that make them look more professional and make them more productive. And that's what we do.
Because it makes you stand out from your competition at the end of the day. I think anybody listening to the Pool Chasers podcast, the likelihood that they're a modern pool professional is pretty high. They're going out and they're researching and they're listening to what's going on in the industry, and they're very receptive to these things. So I think, to the point Kevin said, it's all about increasing profit at the end of the day. That's what everybody wants to do. That's why we're all in business, right? So maybe you use Skimmer and Riptide, or you use Skimmer and Piranha, or you use Primate and Piranha. As you stack more and more of these products into your arsenal of tools, your productivity is going to be increased, and therefore your profitability is also going to be increased. And that's what I think is really cool about the Tools of Modern Pool Professionals. These are tools that will help you scale your business.
We had a great situation today, Kevin. You could appreciate this. So a guy comes in today. He's on his second or third Riptide. He dragged his feet for a while. He obviously had reservations about switching out of something that he had used for 20 years. But he came in today, picked up his second or third unit, and when he was here, we asked him what he's using for software, and he immediately said Skimmer, and he said it has saved me so much trouble. And he started telling stories about the past when he didn't use it, and customers quitting him or firing him, entirely because their conception of of what is happening at their house when they're not there was totally unrealistic. So he now uses your software. He sends pictures immediately upon leaving the property. They're in touch with everything that's going on. And he couldn't say enough good about Skimmer at this today when he was here. And he was here for a long time because his truck broke down while he was here.
Oh, bummer.
So he had to listen to this stuff forever.
That's awesome.
Captive audience there
I
too.
had to listen about Skimmer for about an hour.
And Riptide, hey, give Riptide credit because he was all about that too.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the truck breaking down. While you were speaking, a couple of you were speaking earlier, I was thinking about kind of the thing that we're all trying to accomplish, which is a better product. And I was sort of trying to make an analogy in my mind. I thought back, gee, what was the first car I owned, which was a 1971 Ford Pinto.
I'm sorry.
Gutless. It was bad. But it had wheels and an engine, and we could go places, and that's all that mattered back then. And actually, it was the most gutless four-cylinder I think I've ever owned. But I often drive cars now, and I say, man, cars have come so far. And yet, other industries maybe, they all, I guess, advance at their own rate. And I think the thing that we all appreciate is when something is thought through as far as possible. And I know that I try to do that. I know that all of you, Riptide and Primate and Skimmer, I think we're all trying to do the same thing. And that's probably one of the things that we have maybe most in common, that we're not going to stop when something gets only so far. Say, oh, okay, this is good enough for the market. No, I want it to be the best it can possibly be. I want to go as far as I can. And I know you guys are the same way. We want to take it as far as possible so that every last kink that we could possibly encounter, or that an end user could encounter, would actually be addressed, at least to the best of our ability at that time. And then, of course, we keep developing and advancing past that. And so sometimes people are afraid to maybe make the investment in something that's a little higher end, or maybe change brands because they're not used to one that they're used to another one. But that's really what advancing is all about. It's about trying to find really what's best, whether you're the user or the one producing it, and try and push it to its limit and get it as far as you can and the quality as high as you can. And so that's one of the reasons why I enjoy talking with you guys, because how many people do I ever really encounter that are kind of doing the same thing, especially Joe? I mean, I'm not going to go a lot of places in the world and meet other people who are doing the same thing I am, making pool poles, right? So it's a cool commonality, and it's a market that we can all enjoy each other in as well. So in the meantime, I know you guys are all doing the same thing we're doing. We're trying to make the very best we can do.
Stagnant or die. That's really, you can't stay stagnant. You'll just die off. You have to innovate.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think you all said it, and it's a commonality of a certain customer, right? You're all hitting these certain customers, and they're all very similar. Probably, like Matt said, if they're listening to our podcast, they're probably using your products already. Or they're about to be, because they're trying to figure out how to be a better professional in general. That's what the podcast has always been about: providing information, getting people to a new level, not stuck out of this old pool guy mentality of wearing flip-flops and using the cheapest stuff. It's about quality and productivity, like you've all mentioned, but you probably find very similar customers, probably the same customers that are listening to our podcast in certain ways, right? It's everybody branching and reaching out together, and it's pretty cool to see that it's developed. And I think you said, Joe, too, naturally. It wasn't something that you guys planned. And I agree. Joe, you and I talked about this several times back in the day, even years ago, about you guys starting to get tagged with Riptide, and just was naturally like you would just start seeing you guys share stories, and there's the same story on both your channels. Started forever. It was like, there's another one. There's even it was kind of cool to watch it develop like that from an outside perspective, because I saw that too happening, right? Of, oh, look, these people are using the same two tools, and it's cool to see that they're trying to be better and trying to better the industry, right?
Right. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and really, all of our products. It's kind of interesting to watch the evolution of a company that comes out of the ground, and they don't even know some of these products exist. But once they finally find them, they cannot afford to ever go back to those days before they have them. And we actually get people verbalize that to us all the time, and
Well, they've been searching for them.
If their Riptide goes down, they go into panic mode because they become so much more productive that they can't possibly go a single day without it again.
Yep. Well, imagine if their skimmer goes down.
Yeah, Kevin, you can't let that happen.
You can't let that happen. You need 100% uptime.
Yeah, we don't go down.
But
yeah.
Agree.
That would be
say
bad.
something, Joe?
That's the advantage. We're in the cloud, so we have multiple redundant systems. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll explain what the cloud is to you later, Dave.
You know what's interesting? You were saying Riptide and Primate get each other's social posts. They tag each other. They don't tag Piranha, but if you look at every one of those images, there's a Piranha net on the end of those poles, and that's definitely a tribute.
A lot of times, exactly.
That's a tribute to Piranha. It's like that's obvious. We use a Piranha net, right? But this is the coolest.
Well, actually,
check it out.
I tag Piranha on the daily.
Yeah, Joe has now tagged.
Yeah, I make sure I tag all these guys. I've been, I tag everyone, including Piranha, on the daily. I appreciate being associated with all you guys, and I'm happy to promote tools I love too, because that's the thing. I'm personally using all of this stuff. I'm not just selling a product, so I'm out there, and I actually get to be someone when someone reaches out. Because I get it a lot. It's a daily thing now. What tool would you recommend? I'm just starting out. Like, what do I need? And I'm happy to use this, and this. I'm going to save you a bunch of time right now. Grab Piranha stuff. Grab Riptide. If you're on the fence, I've used a lot of the equipment out there. I can tell you personally why I feel like this is a superior tool over this, and it's been awesome. It really has been an honor. Honestly, at the beginning, being a pool tech is it's kind of lonely. You're working by yourself and you only run into people at the supply shop. So being on social media, I was using that as an outlet to see what other people were doing. Like, what are you guys using? I mean, I know what tools I like, but everything, how people are managing their accounts when they walk in, how much control they have over everything. What are you guys doing? So I can be more efficient. And it's just cool to have watched Primate grow. And again, I'm trying to enjoy that because everything's happening so fast, and all I have to deal with, it seems like, is extinguishing problems. That's really what the unfortunate side of it, and I don't get to enjoy it.
That's every business owner. That's what owning a business about.
Sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
And but no, it's just cool
putting out a fire.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be like a stepping stone on the way to this movement where I'm helping people become more efficient. So.
Yeah, that's what you get when you got the youngest guy knows how to actually use Instagram properly. Tagging people, hashtags.
Yeah, right.
I'll explain tagging people later to you, Dave, too. Don't worry.
For Dave and me, that means running around on the lawn and trying to
play tag.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's not graffiti, Dave.
When I almost a year ago today, I started visiting customers. I actually came to Scottsdale and I started working routes, and I did that with a lot of. That was a year ago, almost to the day. Yeah.
Wow.
A year ago, and I think 30,000 miles ago.
Welcome back.
On the Skimmer mobile.
Is that how many miles you put on your car in a year? 30,000?
Yep.
My God.
And so here's what...
Isn't it like 30,000 miles or so around the world? I mean, you went pretty far, actually.
Well, I went from Scottsdale to Southern California, all the way through Texas, back all the way around Florida, all the way down to Key West, all the way back up, all the way to Atlanta, up to Nashville, back to Texas, back to Scottsdale, back to Southern California. I've done it 3 times. It's also a lot of driving through these routes and going out with the customer. I don't always go in their truck. I'll follow them. But what I wanted to point out was what I thought was interesting is I would go out with a customer and they'd have a Piranha net, right? But they might just have a regular pole. And I was like, okay, cool. And I would use that pole, and then someone would say, have you ever seen this type of pole or carbon fiber pole? And I'm like, oh, wow, I had no idea. And that the next customer would have that. And I would think, okay, this is a lot better to use, right? And then I'd go to another customer, and one would use the pool vacuum of the customer, right? The one that sort of everyone gets and has in their backyard, trying to get everything up. And then I'd go out with another customer, and they'd have a Riptide. And I would think, this is so much better. And then I'd end up going to other customers, and again, there'd be this mix, and I'd say, have you ever heard of Primate carbon fiber poles? And they're like, yeah, I think I've heard of it, but I don't, is it really a big difference? And I'm like, it's a huge difference. It's massive. I was like, instead of taking 3-hour naps after working your route and really understanding how you do things from a skimmer standpoint, I'd rather take an 1.5-hour nap and maybe only an extra liter of water instead of 3 liters. Yes, it's a big difference. I've experienced it, right? And the same thing with Riptide. And then as I go through, I'm not only watching how they use the Skimmer app, right? They're using the Piranha net, they're using their pole, they're vacuuming, and I'm thinking, all right, what do they not have in their inventory? What else can I help them with before I go on to the next customer and give them insight? And that is the tools of modern pool professionals. It was like, you got to really try a Riptide. Have you ever seen one? And sometimes they would say yes, sometimes they would say no. And the same thing with, whether they'd used a carbon fiber pole or not, or just a lighter pole or a stronger pole. And they just didn't think it would make a huge difference. And I was like, you're right in a lot of ways. You think of it like it's more expensive. And sometimes it's not a lot more expensive, but it's a little bit more expensive, but it lasts a lot longer. But really what we said earlier was it makes you more productive, it makes you more professional, and it makes you a lot more profitable. And whenever I say that part, the end, it gets them. They're like, what do you mean more profitable? How am I going to be more profitable using a Piranha net, right? And they're using a Piranha net. And I'm like, all right, would you go back to the previous net that you used? No way. That would be crazy, right? And I said, that's exactly the way you're going to feel about all these other products. Riptide and Primate and Skimmer. That's the difference. I mean, and these are Skimmer customers, and they'll say, well, you're right. There's no way I would never stop using Skimmer. It's been a game changer. It's changed my life. I'm like, because that's the only 2 products you've experienced. You need to now try Primate and Riptide, right? And you're going to see even more exponential, or, it's not this linear incremental growth. It's exponential. It's 10x in some cases. And some of these guys get it immediately. Others are like, all right, I'll try it. I think I will do that. I will order this. And others say, I don't know. I don't see the difference. And that's how we know who our customers are, right? It's those like-minded individuals that go, you know what? I'm going to take a bet and try one of those. Because as Eric was saying, sometimes you just got to try something different that people are talking about to see that it's not just a different color pole. It's not just a different color net or a shape. It changes everything in the way that you do things. And once you experience it, you can't go back.
Right. But the different color poles are kind of cool.
Well, I think you guys are kind of breaking the mold in, even manufacturers working alongside each other, right? You've taken something that doesn't never happen before in the industry and aligned yourselves with each other, which is kind of unique. And I think, from talking to you, Kevin, you look at your competition as more of being like the old way of doing things, right? Not so necessarily your competitors, but just the old way.
When I think of competition for Skimmer, I think of pen and paper, right? When I run into our competitors at a trade show, or I go out to dinner with them and we talk about what we're both doing, right? And how we're trying to enhance the market. I try to convince them we are not competing with each other. We are educating the larger market to actually try one of us. And I actually tell people that when I visit them, if they're like, I just don't know if Skimmer is a good fit for me the way I do things. I've looked at these other platforms. What I tell them is, if they're on pen and paper, try that platform then. Get off of pen and paper. You will probably double or 3x your productivity. Now, someday you will be a Skimmer customer. I do tell them that, because we have the best platform.
Because you'll find it.
At least get off pen and paper, right? And that's the same thing with the rest of these products. Is I always say carbon fiber poles aren't really competing with aluminum poles. They're competing with those really old, original type of aluminum poles, right?
Those are
that break, and they really, a professional can go through in a few days right? When they're really working hard. The
the
new
Home
ones,
Depot poles.
yeah, the new ones are amazing, right? The same thing, when I visit a Riptide and Dave talks about how they improved their bags, right? And you watch Eric at Piranha talk about how they design their nets. It's just unbelievable, the thought that goes into it. And that's the thing. We're not competing with each other. We're not competing with our market competitors. We're competing with an old mindset that is starting to change. And I think, you have several companies on the podcast a lot that talk about you've got to start knowing your numbers. You've got to understand your business. You've got to start getting organized and thinking as the way a profitable business thinks. And that's very smart. That's what we're doing as well. You've got to start using the right tools. So when you think about your business and you organize it properly, right? If you use the right tools, your mind immediately says, wait a minute, there's more here. I mean, I go back a year ago, right? I started visiting customers, and I'll visit someone like Tyler who says, well, I'm a one poler. I don't really think I'd ever want to manage anyone. And I say, why not? And he's like, I don't think I could do it. It's just too many logistics. And I'll say to them, not with Skimmer. It can really help you manage it, right? And I'll give them a pep talk and I'll say, Tyler, if you really want to grow, if you really want to make this more than you can imagine and really achieve your dreams in this industry, start hiring a few people and give it a try with Skimmer, right? And see how it works.
To that point, Kevin, we've had some of our customers that tell us they've done that because of your software, where they literally thought exactly what you just said. And they thought they would always be one polars. And they built nice companies, very nice companies. It allowed them to build routes and then have the routes running independently while they took on more repairs and maintenance and that sort of thing, and allowed them to make a lot more money than they ever thought they could.
That's right.
We have some people with six-figure incomes because they just take it seriously to grow. And again, a lot of these big, really profitable companies, they grow their maintenance departments to keep all of that service work in-house, to keep all of the replace the pumps, the motors, the heaters, keep it all in-house. And it's really interesting to see how far they can bring the business. I always love to hear the really successful ones. And especially when they put it together, they haven't been in it very long and they've still managed to put together super successful businesses. Whereas others struggle for years, and partly because of the mindset of doing things the old-fashioned way and not ever trusting anybody to go any further. If nobody ever learns to trust anyone else, then yeah, they're stuck to their own devices, what their own body is capable of doing. And everybody would be limited beyond imagination if they can't get past that.
Right.
And it's interesting, Kevin, at one of the trade shows, we were at a casino. And I thought this guy was going to propose to Kevin because he was so enamored with what he was achieving with Skimmer. He was literally just in the background, just talking about it, telling anybody that would listen. And it was awesome, actually. It was absolutely amazing to sit there and be part of that and listen to how exuberant he was about his experience with that platform and with that program.
Yeah.
Well,
what I was going to say, what I was going to say, Tyler, is the companies that you have, the other companies that you have on your podcast that talk about really getting organized and thinking about the profitability of your business and how you staff and the benefits that you provide. They're doing the same thing. They're making people think differently. And I visit other companies and they're like, you know what, I can do that. Those companies are buying other companies and they're building these huge companies. And it's actually seeding that into the market where, Joe and Eric and Dave out there in the market who've got, 5 techs say, you know what, I could manage 10 techs. I could manage 15 techs. I could combine these routes in this area. I could acquire another company. I've been doing well for the last 2 years during the boom. And that is giving lift to the industry across the board, because it is making everyone think, if Eric says, well, I'm going to double the size of my team, he does think to himself, I might need to get a little bit more organized. I might need to think about the way I want to do this and actually manage it. And that is the benefit, not only of using Skimmer, it enables you to quickly scale up your business if you decide to do that. But all these other tools actually, at the end of the day, really make you more profitable. Because you can get through your day, your techs are happier, and they start to realize, you work at one place and you get the the old-fashioned poles and you get the old-fashioned nets and you don't have a really good pool vacuum, your life may not be very pleasant. And then you go work for another company and they've got the best tools, the tools of modern pool professionals, and everything changes. And then if they end up leaving that company and go to another one, guess what they say? You guys need to get this. You need to get Piranha nets. You need to get a Riptide Pool Vacuum. I want a carbon fiber pole from Primate. And why aren't you using Skimmer? Right? And that's why these companies have this momentum. It's why we decided to get together. And if you're listening out there, I always do this when I talk to people. Is I'll challenge you. If you use a Piranha net and someone says, "Why do you use Piranha net?" and they say, "Well, that's a no-brainer. It's the best in the industry." You're right. And guess what happens when you use one more tool in this group? You don't get just a small amount of lift. You get a huge amount of lift. And the momentum of your company starts to change. The way your employees think start to change. And they start demanding, let's use the best stuff. Let's think better than our competitors. And those companies start to really become a force in the industry versus just an afterthought and I'm just be a one-poler. And you think it's because of all the logistics and you don't have the ability to do it. And I'll say this to everyone listening to this podcast right now. You do have the ability. You just have to use the right tools to get there.
Exactly. Nobody should be putting any like artificial limitations on what they're capable of, because everybody at one point was in your shoes where they were a one poler. Every company that's got 30 techs at one point was a one pole company, and they just expanded and figured out the tools that worked for them and grew from there.
You're exactly right. I would say too that whether it's on our side, the manufacturing side, or even where Greg and Tyler are podcasts and all those doing service, there's an idea that you're competing against other people, but I mean, I think you guys would agree, we're also competing against ourselves. How much better can I do? How can I be more efficient? What else can I do to improve my craft here? And I think that's a huge part of, especially being an entrepreneur. I mean, this industry is full of so many entrepreneurs and so many small businesses, and we all know those quite intimately. And really, it's about pushing yourself and trusting yourself, knowing that you could accomplish more if you rearrange things. Again, we're talking about tools, so largely, and other things, different types of tools we're using and that we all produce. But in the end, how much better can I get? Can I take on more work, et cetera? Can I employ people? It's all about pushing yourself and actually finding ways to reinvent yourself and not be afraid to do it. So I think it's another, again, it's a commonality I think we have here, but it's also one we have with all the people who are using our products. They're doing the same exact thing. So
right, exactly.
It's nice to see. I love seeing people succeed all over the place. I love when I see businesses succeed.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you guys.
Yeah, exactly. We all share those values, and it's great. Like Matt said, and like everyone said, we're all customer service oriented companies, and we have high standards for ourselves, and people appreciate that. We're not just throwing products out there and thinking about it on the manufacturing side and, what's the quickest, easiest way I can do this. And then we'll just pump a bunch of money into marketing and, we'll just feel the gains from that. And, whatever happens, happens. No, we all listen to feedback and we take that to the table, and we're constantly improving our tools because our users deserve it, and, yeah.
It's hard for me to even think of a time because when we started in the pool industry, I never even tried pen and paper and like all these non-modern things, right? But you guys probably know the numbers better than we do. That your market is probably, you guys own a small portion of the market in these modern tools. There's such a big part of the market that's still not using any of these things, which is pretty insane to me to think of, because I've been in the industry now 10 years, tried to find the best stuff from the very beginning. So it's kind of hard for me to see that. But, I know Kevin and all of you, we talked about different, there's such a small amount of people using these things, even though our circles get bigger and bigger all the time with people who are now becoming this way. But it's still, if you go to these trade shows, 75% of these people out there are not using at least one of these tools. You know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy.
For now.
Mm-hmm.
The time is coming.
Occasionally we'll get a customer that has been using like a manual pool vacuum for 20 years or 15 years or whatever the case. And they'll call me after they buy Riptide and using it for a week. And they'll call us to thank us. And they'll be like, I wish I did this 10 or 15 years ago. And that really applies to everybody's product here. And they're thanking us because it saves so much time. And all that time that they spent over that 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever, they're never going to get that back. That's 10 or 15 or 20 years they could have been more profitable or had more time to spend with their families or go home and have a beer quicker. There's all this time that they're never going to get back, or all of the above. And that's not just limited to us. I mean, that's with Skimmer or Primate, with a lighter pull. They're not putting that much strain on their body. It really applies to all of our companies. And that's really why I like working with all these guys.
That's such a huge compliment when somebody thanks you too. I mean, to think that you actually made someone's life better and they took a minute to tell you, hey, by the way, you sped up my day here, or my hands don't hurt as much, or my back, like you said, whatever. Just the fact that someone would even say that, I think is such a huge reward on our side. It's such an honor to know that people that are really working out there, and people that I respect and admire, and I know we all do. I just, to get a compliment back like that is to me, it's just awesome.
It's the best, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the best for everybody. Yeah, it's the best for all of us, right?
Makes you want to keep trying, It's like, okay, what else can I do to come up with something that'll make things even better for the end user here?
Right.
Because
getting that feedback's validating. It takes a lot for someone to reach out. I mean, that's saying a lot. If someone takes the time and, in this industry to call you personally like that and be like, you guys just changed my life, that's saying a lot,
Yeah, and all these products, including the podcast, right, stem from solving a pain point, right? You all decided that you had a pain point in your route. For us, it was a pain point in information, right? I couldn't find information, so we just started it and started asking questions. But each one of you has your own unique story of, I'm just tired of doing it the old way and I want to make something better. And then, for us and for you all, I know, when you're making other people's lives better, we're all in for, own businesses and want to make money. And that's obviously a key piece of any successful company. But that's the best part, is when you can get to hear these people, how you changed their life, how you improved it, how one of your stories or your pole, your net, your vacuum, your software saved me so much time. Like, I was looking for it for years and I finally found it. It's really, really rewarding, and that's why we keep doing it. Honestly, it's just the more people we can help, the better, and it keeps you going.
Yeah.
Usually the response is not, they thanking us. My side is, man, thank you for trying it. Thank you for giving it a shot.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, it's an honor, and I know, especially with the information, like you said, Tyler. I mean, and I do come out of the pen and paper days.
Right. I saw you laughing when I said that.
Never seen it. Actually, I had pencils before that. I remember.
You were pre-pen.
An eraser.
Eric? Did you have that? Did you have one of those sharpeners with a vice grip on your truck?
Yeah, turn it. You see, it's got this pencil. Yes. There's this tree that grows in the middle of each branch of the graphite. I don't know where they get it. Anyway, they come to me, give us a sharpener to fix that, because we all got tired of lugging around the chisel and the marble.
It's funny you say pen and paper. I visited a prospect, and they finally became a customer. And they do almost 2,000 pools a week, and they thought they were too big for Skimmer, right?
Yeah.
And so I visited them, and you never know what they're doing and how their systems are set up. What I found was an amazing, elegant pen and paper system that was unbelievable, that was actually driving a very profitable, well-known, distinguished brand in their geographic region. And I thought, wow, this is really a beautiful pen and paper system, right? And then I said, but you're wasting so much time, right? There's so much lift here. And they're like, well, that's what you keep saying, but let's take a look. We'll do some tests. And so I said, I'll hang out with you guys for a couple days. Let's make this happen. I really want to show you how I can change it. And when we did it, after about a full day of being there, and then they ran a test with some of the techs, it was 10x. It was over 10x, the productivity lift, the way they were doing it, right? And so that's the point. It's not a matter that you can run a profitable business using substandard tools and substandard processes. You really can. And by the way, a lot of companies today are. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're on this podcast today is you don't have to anymore. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
right?
you know,
and
the
you're
other
using
thing,
way too much energy.
the other thing too is the market's becoming more and more competitive, right? So if you're using something that's going to set you above everybody else, your customers are getting those email reports from Skimmer after they leave the pool. They're like, here's a picture of how it was when we got here. Here's how it is when we left. Here's your chem readings. Or you're able to do more pools because you're doing, using a Primate Pool and you're not, killing yourself, and you're using a Riptide, getting through your route faster. That's all stuff that's setting you apart from your competitors. I don't like worrying about what our competitors are doing. I don't care what they're doing. But what I do believe in, can I do to be the best I can be? What can we do to make Riptide the best we can do? And that's how I view a lot of pool guys should be looking at this. Like, hey, what can I do to be a better pool guy? What can I do to be the best pool guy? Because there's more people. Every day we're getting customers in the shops that are in the shop here locally that are starting and getting into the business. So it's more and more competitors that are out there. The industry is really expanding. So you really have to start looking at things that are going to set you apart from your competitors.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking as a customer, for the past couple of years, I've had a pool service, and prior to that, I always just took care of my own pool. It's so much nicer with a pool service, first of all. But second of all, I've had pool people that did not use a software system like Skimmer. And I never knew if they were actually there or not, because my pool is screened and closed. It's basically clean. I honestly would have no idea if they were ever there. But I love the guy that I use now uses the product, and he sends pictures every single day. I always know when he was there. I always know what he did. And it's just as a customer, speaking completely as a customer, if I wasn't in the pool industry even, I want that. I want to know that they were there. I want to know what they did. I want to know that they did something.
Right.
And one thing I love about Skimmer is they force you to take a live picture. Right. So they can't just pull it out of their library. I think that's innovative, important, and it forces every single tech to be accountable, to just do it right, to actually prove that they were actually there. And that's super important as a customer.
Agreed. Yeah, I have to your point, Kevin, you can be profitable the old way, right? But when I first started in the workforce when I was like 18, I started before that, but really when I was on my own here, I worked for a window cleaning company, and she's very high-end area, very successful, multi-million-dollar company. And, she gave me a Home Depot bucket with a, basic mop and squeegee, and that was like it, right? And told us to go to these properties we're servicing are $12 million homes with ginormous windows all over the whole property, and I'm supposed to use this like basic setup, right? And I'm like, how, and I did that for like a week or two, and I'm like, there's got to be better ways. And I started to see other people, right? I started to see these swivel mops, these poles that you could, not climb a ladder every 2 seconds, right? This is obviously a different industry, but I'm using as an example because I started to see, listen, like there's no way that somebody's cleaning these pools climbing a ladder with these tools, right? And then I found there's a place that sells better tools, and I started like doing my own research and I bought my whole complete tool set around the owner because she wouldn't do it. I said, hey, can we get this stuff? She wouldn't buy it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to take 10 hours on something that I could do in 6, with actually modern tools and make my life better, right? So tools we've always used that at Brothers, from when we started Brothers Pool Service and we started giving people, I always told every tech, like if you want something, I don't care which product it is. If you think it makes you better, while you're out in the field, like I'll buy it if it's within reason, and so that you feel better as a tech and you feel better at doing your job, right? Because I was affected by that, by a crappy boss who gave me crappy tools, and I got a paycheck, which was awesome, but it was like a really awakening experience for me of like, wow, if you have these right tools, your life is so much better, and we've always provided that for every tech. So, my point being is these tools are very, very important. And, if you've never used them before, try them, because it will change your life. Like you said, life-changing experiences.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. And we tell people that all the time with Riptide. They will ask us sometimes flat out, what will the Riptide do for me? And we will tell them, you'll become so much more productive that it pays for itself in very, very short order. And the point I make with them isn't the Riptide's that amazing or anything else. Tools are supposed to do that. That's why every single tool on the planet exists, to become more productive. So it's really just a matter of identifying the right tools that will really make you more productive, and then take your time to understand them and use them to their fullest. And I mean, there's no sense getting Skimmer and then not learning how to use it properly and efficiently. And the same is true with Riptide or any other product on the market, really. We all buy every single tool that we've ever bought to become more productive, to become better at what we do, and to get more done. And really, when it comes down to it, when nobody should ever be hiring another tech unless they've already made them as efficient as possible. Every tech that you have needs to be as efficient as possible before you add another one. The cost of adding that additional tech is exponentially more expensive than just adding another tool. And that's what tools are always all about.
That's right. And in today's...
I love the way you said that.
Well said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautifully said.
And in today's labor market, it's a competitive advantage. Like when you say, I'll pay you this much an hour, or I pay you this much a year, or I give you these benefits, those are becoming table stakes. Everyone's offering that now, and everyone's stepping up. But when you say, we use the best tools, right? We use the tools of modern pool professionals.
We'll make your job easier. Yeah.
Now you're not only paying me the same, you're giving me the benefits. You're treating me as a professional by giving me the tools that, like we say, not only make me look more professional, it helps me do a more professional job. It helps me be more productive. And at the end of the day, all the business owners that are listening out there, it helps you be more profitable. And now you can attract the labor to your company because, as Tyler said, the intelligent pool professionals that you want working with you are going to be drawn to a company that uses the right tools, that cares about what you're using and the way you're doing things. And that is going to get around their social networks. And Tyler and Kevin and Matt are going to tell their friends. And all of a sudden, the high quality labor that is happy where they are today, but may not be using modern tools, are going to start to flock to your company.
Well, and Tyler's point I thought was really good because he was speaking from the perspective of an employee working for somebody that he's providing that labor. And even then, I mean, think of all the people in this industry and every industry who are employed by somebody else and, hoping to get the best tools, and maybe they aren't from their employer. They're still doing all the work. It's still you going home at the end of the day thinking, man, I'm worn out, or it took me longer than I needed to be, et cetera. And so the burden really does fall on the actual user, no matter what your position is in a company. If it's something you're going to be doing, you might as well be as efficient as possible. So I really liked Tyler's angle on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, tools are cool, right? We've been, as humans, inventing them for 2.5 million years or whatever, since we first used a rock to smash something open. So we've been improving ever since then.
What's this weed stuff?
Well, I was mainly
Joe's still doing
Yeah, I was going to say, no one can see me right now, but I look like I still use rocks.
Yeah,
to
I guess
smash
nobody on the podcast listening can see Joe right now, but he's got quite the hair going on.
I prefer Maine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maine.
Cave beard.
And I think what I hear you all saying, right, and what we're all talking about is whatever product you use, right, use more modern tools, become more professional. That's what this whole episode is really about. We all know you all make a superior product in your line of tools, right? And that person, if they start using better tools, will find you. We all trust that you make a great product. We're telling you to go change the way of thinking, so that when you start to change the idea of, I don't need to use this basic stuff and it can make my job more easy, that eventually all of you know you make it, you trust your product, you believe in the product, you've built a product from a perspective of the employee because you were there once as a one puller or continue to operate pool service companies. So you've been there. So you've developed them from these perspectives, and you know that they'll eventually find you, right? So just whatever it is, just use something more modern, change the old way of thinking.
And, and it goes further for us companies, us manufacturers. It goes further than just building a great product too. The company behind the product is so important.
Yeah.
We are constantly taking call after call. Matter of fact, if we could reduce this particular call, we would have to answer the phone a lot less, which would help us get more done in Christmas Day. But constantly asking us if we have inventory, if we can ship immediately, how long will it take them to get it? And we are absolutely committed at Riptide to keeping everything in stock all the time. So we ship immediately. We overnight if necessary. Anybody in Florida gets their product the next day. So if we notice very often, we happen to have the luxury of being right next door to UPS. We ship immediately. If somebody orders a Riptide, even if it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes if they really need it, we'll run it over to UPS. They'll get it the next day anywhere in Florida. Which is just amazing service. It becomes such an important part of the business to have these tools immediately available, to have parts immediately available.
And I think every company
and that's
here
been a stumbling point. That's
like
been a stumbling point for the industry in the last couple of years since COVID, really.
I think every company here is like that, whether it's us with having stuff in inventory or Primate or Piranha having their inventory, good to go, or Skimmer with they don't have inventory, but they've got their cloud uptime of never being down.
It is important to keep everything moving all the time for our customers. It's our obligation. It's what we do. It's our job.
Right. They're out there in the field, and when they order it or when they call, they need it. They need it then. So it's amazing you guys can say you can do that.
That's right. Well, at Skimmer, we deliver instantaneously, just for the record, when you sign up.
Instantaneously.
What else is in the clouds? God.
No supply chain issues. We have no supply chain issues. And, I'm being funny, but it really is that simple. And, I'm thinking people listening to the podcast right now, there's a group of people that are like, this is so obvious. I love that my favorite brands, are getting together and really taking it to the next level. And then there's a segment of people out there that are like, who are these brands, right? Who are these companies? And there's a segment that know some of us and don't know the others. And I think that's what's key. Change can be very difficult. It can be hard to change the way you've done things, especially if you're doing well and you're happy and you enjoy your life. And, I've met people that when I say, hey, we're going to cut the amount of time it takes for you to run your business in half based on the way you're doing it. And the wife will look at me and go, I'm not sure I want him back that much. That was a joke, by the way. And
slow him down, but
I'll say, well, so however he uses his time or however you use your time that you get back, that's the key. You're going to make more money, right? And your teams are going to be happier. And so it's just about making, a lot of people think that amount of change is impossible, and I can't make that change. And I think what all 4 of our brands would say to you is using all 4 of our brands is not a huge change. It's 2 millimeters. It's a 2 millimeter shift in the way you work, but you get a 10x return on investment. And in some cases, on some of the brands, even more, right? And that's what you've got to consider is, are you willing to give it a try? Are you willing to just make one small change? And when you do, you think about, using software, and I use pen and paper, that's huge. And when you think about it, actually using pen and paper is a lot more effort than using software that does most of the work for you. You just need to do what you know how to do best, which is service pools and manage the teams that do that. Skimmer takes away all the logistics and things you shouldn't be doing and uses technology to really make that simple. But if you think about it, that's what a Piranha net does. You can use any net to skim a pool or to get what you need to get after in a pool. It's just a matter of how efficient and effective and professional and easily you can do that, right? And it's a matter of, do you want to take an hour to do it or do you want to take 10 minutes? And you think that's not the difference. Well, then you've never used a Piranha net. That's what I would tell you. You've got to try these tools and show yourself and give yourself the opportunity to make just a small change in the way you do business and experience this massive lift and this massive increase in productivity and profitability that's just waiting for you to make that small change.
Right, exactly.
And I can say for any of the listeners out there that are Riptide customers that haven't used Skimmer or Piranha or Primate, give them a try, because I'm telling you, I wouldn't work with these companies if I didn't believe in what they were doing. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't actually give them the time of day if I didn't believe what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, and none of you all would be on the podcast if we didn't believe it. So, we've always been working with you from the beginning. We wouldn't even give you the platform or the time of day, like Matt said, to talk about it if it wasn't something that we believe in. So, I'm going to put links in the show notes to all of your guys' original episodes that talk about your stories. We're going to get into that a little bit today, but I think we've hit more and more important subjects. So I'll link all those, origin stories, and I recommend go and listen to all those, because they're incredible stories of how you've developed products from nothing, from pain points to where you are now. And again, Greg and I both enjoy each one of your company and always have. And, we look forward to seeing you at next trade shows and everything, and talking to you guys in the future. But appreciate you all coming on today and sharing kind of the new wave of modern tools with everybody. So appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us, Tyler.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Likewise. Appreciate all you guys.
It's always great to see all you guys. Yeah.
Hey, Pool Chasers. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. To connect with today's guests, including pictures, links, and resources from everything discussed today, you can visit the episode page at poolchasers.com or click the links below. To connect more with us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter by searching at Pool Chasers. If you would like to support the podcast, the easiest and most effective way is to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as share the show or your favorite episode with a friend or on social media. Also, you can get early access to each episode by supporting us through Patreon. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for sharing some of yours with us today.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.